All right, guys, we're back on Southeastern 16 previewing a Tuesday night's game between Duke and Texas. That one's going to take
Ooh.
place at the Spectrum Center in Max Barr's old stomping ground, Charlotte, North Carolina. 7:45 p.m. Central on ESPN. No odds as of now for our friends who do sponsor this channel over at FanDuel. But Max, looks like we're seeing numbers out there 7, 8, something like that, based on some of the analytical things I've seen.
Yeah, I think there's a few books already out there that have a Duke at Duke minus 7.5. If you want to look at a Ken Palm analytical projection, they have the final score projection as Duke 80, Texas 73. So the analytics are dead on with the Vegas odds here, predicting about a 7-point win for the Dukies.
All right, if you want to get ready for this game and enjoy it with a nice little beverage, you can do that with our friends over
Ooh.
at GameTime Sidekicks, officially licensed stainless steel drinkware. Every SEC school, over 350 more universities as well. If you're a Duke fan, they got plenty of Duke stuff over there. Everything from stainless steel sippy cups, tumblers, 40-ounce bottles, and shaker cups. You can get 20% off using our code SE16, 20% off over at GameTimeSidekicks.com. All right, let's get into the matchup here. As we said, Max, on the SEC side of things, Texas, a team that I feel like you're still kind of wanting to see exactly how the rotation is going to shake out. Sean Miller's first season here with the Longhorns. I think one of the reasons, Max, not so much the backcourt. I feel like we have a pretty good idea of what the backcourt's going to look like for Texas in terms of their potential rotation in minutes, but it really is focused in on the front court. Some of that due to a couple guys who have been out with injuries, and I think that's the biggest question I have for Texas, which, quite honestly, Max, may sort of give away a prediction here because not maybe the best thing to have the front court as a question when you look on the other side of this matchup and see what Duke is going to be sporting.
Yeah, real quick to set the stage with a little injury report, quick speed injury report here. Starting with Texas, injuries to the big guys, both big guys. The FAU transfer, Matas Vokititis, and following Sean Miller from Xavier, he was out the whole year with an ACL, but Lucina Traore, you probably know him from Long Beach State 2 years ago. Both had nagging injuries that kept them out of Texas's exhibitions, but they're both back at practice. So Sean Miller says Matas, he is back and ready to go. He had a pretty bad ankle sprain, but he's going full bore at practice and he'll be good to go for the game. But Traore, who had the ACL last year, and if you guys know him from Long Beach State, absolute monster on the boards, double-digit rebounder, almost guaranteed at the mid-major level. He's limited in practice right now. Blake, I think it's like a day-to-day situation. And speaking of day-to-day situations, that's what Duke's backup big man, defensive savant, ex-Syracuse Orangeman Malik Brown, backing up Patrick Gongba at the 5 there, missed both exhibitions with a knee, genuine day-to-day scenario there. And then Sarr, good to go, ready to rock and roll the international for the Dukies.
Well, we kind of know what to expect, as we said, from the Texas backcourt. Jordan Pope is back. Tramon Mark. I mean, how many this guy's played more SEC games, more important games, maybe than anyone in the league over the past several years. Your guy Weaver is back. I know. I'm sure you're going to talk plenty about him. This is a Weaver type game for you, Max. I feel like if Texas is going to pull the upset, they're going to need him to have a big game. We've talked a bit about Dailyn Swain, of course, 6'8" there in the front court as well this offseason. Wilshire joins. What's maybe the biggest question outside of the front court you have with this Texas team heading into this matchup, and what are some things that you could see with the Longhorns that could present some potential challenges for Duke?
Well, the thing that I'm looking at, this is a Duke team that is built very similar to last year in terms of size, and it's how does this Texas backcourt deal with that? Because whoever they play on the wing at the 3, it's going to be an undersized player compared to Duke's lineup, because you're looking at a Jordan Pope at 6'2", a Simeon Wilcher or Kendall Weaver at like 6'3", 6'4", and Mark would be your tallest at 6'5". Maybe you get Cam Heide at the 3. He played the 4, stretch 4 mostly for Purdue last year, but maybe you get him at the 3 at 6'7". But you're looking at Duke's lineup. You got 6'5" at point guard, 6'6", and then 6'8". It just gets taller from there. So Jordan Pope, not really known to be an elite finisher around the rim. Tramon Mark usually likes to pull up for a mid-range jumper rather than go through contact all the way to the rim. So, how does the Texas backcourt deal with this size? I think that's where you got to lean on the number one transfer this team brought in, Dailyn Swain there. He's got to have a big game going against Boozer.
I'm fascinated too by some of the returners for Texas who played in sort of the Trey Johnson universe last year, where it was like, hey, he was able to take so much off of them. Now you have a lot of guys who have to step into those roles. Obviously, it's not going to be just one guy, but I think offensively that puts some pressure on some of these guys, and maybe also opens up some things in what will be, as we mentioned, a new system under Sean Miller and all of that. I mean, for Duke, look, we watched the exhibition game against Tennessee. I mean, it's very clear Cam Boozer as advertised in terms of how good this guy, I mean, maybe better, which is hard to believe, but looked fantastic in that one. I think certainly when you just look at the overall makeup of this Duke team, the front court, as I said earlier, my goodness, it's going to be a story in this game. If Duke were to win this game, let's say by double digits, we're probably looking at it and saying, hey, Texas just getting some of these guys back into the rhythm could not simply do enough in the front court to find a way to, again, slow down Boozer, Gungba, as we said. I mean, I just think that to me is the clear potential separator here in this matchup, just depending on what we see from Texas and how these guys are acclimated to the rotation for the guys that have been out, as we said, in those exhibitions, versus, I mean, it wasn't just, Boozer. I mean, again, Gungba looked really good too. If you just kind of look at the way he's looked so far this heading into the season as well.
And for Duke to put those results up in their exhibitions with, returning from injury Sarr and no Malik Brown, to do that without two of them who are going to have big roles. If you looked at, and he only played 17 minutes and he didn't really stuff the stat sheet, but Dame Sarr in that Tennessee, I mean, that guy's got boulders for shoulder. He is all of north of 200 pounds. He's listed at 6'7". I call him 6'8". He's going to be a force. I think when Nicholas Kamenia, when he goes out, you could almost, or when Boozer goes out, you could almost put Kamenia and Sarr, both 6'8" at the 3 and the 4. They got options on the kind of like that wing stretch 4 kind of player there. I think that if you take the depth of the wing for Duke with Sarr, with Kamenia, with Boozer, and you compare it to the depth of the wings for Texas, there is a big difference. You're going to need a Kendall Weaver masterclass. He's listed at 6'3", folks. He's going to have to play like he's 6'8" tonight, and that might seem like a little bit of a stretch, but it's not. He's going to have to be able to give a rebounding boost, a down low boost for Texas if Lassina Traore is hindered. Because honestly, Blake, between Matas and between Lassina, I think in a game like this where you need that just brute force physicality, I think Lassina Traore is a little bit more valuable against a Duke team than Matas.
Yeah, and I think so too. We've mentioned Traore. I mean, he's someone you talked about earlier, probably more so known from the Long Beach State days. Yeah. I feel like, that is certainly one that, he was a beast there. And I feel like if they get that guy, then he's going to be the person that probably gets the most run this season, I would think, in terms of like potential impact in that particular spot. But again, it's a great test for Texas because, like we said, I mean, you're not going to see this very often this season. As good as the SEC is, sure, there are going to be some of these front courts in the SEC that wind up being some of the best in the country. We know Florida kind of projected to be the top front court with all the guys they have coming back 1 through 4. But it's just that this is a unique sort of situation. And like I said, I mean, you're playing against someone who just completely dominated Tennessee, had 33-12 in the game against UCF and the other exhibition game. Too, it's like Isaiah Evans. He's obviously going to take a big step forward this year in terms of his scoring output. What he averaged 7 points a game last year. That's clearly going to, possibly even double, when you really think about the role he's going to play. So, yeah, I mean, what else do we say about Duke? I mean, they are just, like I said, they're exhibition games, understand that, but you can very clearly see they're going to have a player once again for the however many straight years this has been. They're going to have a player that can completely go out and dominate games on his own. But the thing is, he's got very, very talented players around him, and it's just going to make them a matchup nightmare, I think, for not just Texas, but a lot of other teams as well.
Yeah, two things that we haven't mentioned that I want to get to real quick before picks. Oops, there goes the phone. Two things that I want to mention. One negative on Duke, because we have just really been singing Duke's praises. One thing is they do not have the depth of volume shooters that they had last year. If you look at their exhibition 3-point numbers, in the UCF one where they just pounded UCF, 2 players for Duke made more than 1 3. Isaiah Evans was 3 of 10, and Cam Boozer was 4 of 7. Everyone else either 1 or 0. In the Tennessee exhibition, now huge upgrade in defense from UCF. Isaiah Evans, the only Duke player to make more than 1 3. He shot 4 of 9, lights out. But last year, you would look down the roster and, geez, you could list off the whole, 5 guys that are making more than 1 3.
Yeah,
right.
Seventh nationally, 39% from 3 last year. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's not what this roster is built. They just do not have the depth of volume shooters that they did last year. Now they do have guys capable, Darren Harris, Caden Boozer, even Foster. They can all knock down threes. So there's that little aspect for Duke. Say Isaiah Evans has an off night first game, or Cam Boozer doesn't hit a few outside shots. You could see maybe a stat line, a team shooting stat line for Duke that's like, woo, they are really not hitting outside shots this game. That's the difference. There's that. And then the other thing, Blake, is we haven't mentioned any of the freshmen for Texas, John Clark or Declan Duro, both 6'9", 6'8", physical guys. If there is a scenario here where Texas is right in this game coming down to the wire, I think it's because we've gotten some surprise production off the Texas bench that we weren't expecting. Maybe it's Nick Cody, the sophomore, John Clark, Duru. One of those guys has to step up and help out Swain there at the 4.
Yeah, I put Texas in my top 3 in the SEC in terms of like most unknowns with what I think the rotation will look like. I have no idea. Outside of just a couple givens with the guys that are returning, I would think. But beyond that, I think there's a lot of questions as to minutes distribution and all that for this Texas team. But we will find out in a game like this for sure.
Yep.
So, all right, picks Max for this particular game.
Yeah, gonna go with Duke to win here. I think the 7.5, 8 multi-possession spread is warranted, and if you got to keep an eye on Lacina Traore. If you're a bettor looking to place a wager on this game, Lacina Traore, I think is worth a basket or two, given how important his physicality is going to be against this Duke front court. Going Duke with the win. If there is a scenario where Texas is in this game, I think Duke's having a poor outside shooting night. Kendall Weaver's making life, miserable for whoever's on the wing for Duke. You get some surprise for production off the bench for Texas. It's a game, but go Duke here. Like,
yeah, I just want to see what the Texas front court looks like. I'm with you. I think Traore's the player to watch here, just in terms of like what is his long-term potential going to be on this team this season. I think there's a high ceiling there, but we find out in a game like this, depending on, again, how these guys have gotten acclimated to this particular team. And like I said, rotations for me for Texas are everything in this one. I just want to see what this is going to look like under Sean Miller. We think we have some idea, but don't really know for sure. So I'm going to pick Duke too. I think the front court might wind up being the story, but I can't say that with full confidence because I just don't know what we're getting from Texas in terms of how many minutes some of those guys are going to play. So, yeah, pick a Duke as well. Should be a fun game. As we said, I'm sure there will be a lineup at FanDuel you can check out on Tuesday. We're recording this on Monday morning, so you can check that line out, see what you think about that. Of course, you can also check out our friends over at the Yearly Company, a Nashville-based fine jewelry brand built on tradition, designed for meaning, each piece handcrafted from 14-karat gold, natural gemstones, and made to measure for perfect fit and backed by a lifetime guarantee. Every Yearly Company bangle, custom size, knowing your size, the most important step before ordering. If your husband out there wants to get some holiday shopping in early, you can do it with 100% off the sizing kit. You need to know that sizing kit, as they say. So 100% off. Use the code SC16KIT at checkout over at the Yearly Company, link in the description below. And ROKFORM, ROKFORM.com, the world's strongest magnetic phone case, extreme protection, super strong magnets, rock lock, secure mounting. SCC25 is the code over there SEC25 for 25% off at ROKFORM. All right. We appreciate you guys watching. More SEC and college basketball coverage here on the channel. It's here. The season has started. Lots of game previews, lots of reaction, live shows, all that. So hit that subscribe button. Hit the like button as well. Turn on your notifications. You know we go live to talk college basketball here at Southeastern 16. Thanks again for watching. We'll talk to you soon at Southeastern 16, presented by FanDuel.